would like to thank AHEPA and HACAM for inviting me to make this presentation today. March 25th is a very important day for the Greek nation. It is as important as the 4th of July for all Americans. Because on March 25th, 1821, the Greeks started a revolution to gain their independence from the Ottomans, who occupied their country since 1453, when Constantinople fell, and that ended the Byzantine Empire. The idea of the Greek Revolution started 7 years earlier, in 1814, by 3 Greeks in Odessa, which is in Ukraine. And they started a secret society they call Hellenic-American, translation would be Society of Friends, and it grew to have 60,000 members. Hellenic-American succeeded in raising the desire of Greeks for freedom, and provided the leadership and financial assistance for the weapons and ammunition to fight and defeat the Ottomans in 7 years. Many buildings and streets in Athens, and when I say Athens, I don't mean Athens, Ohio, it's Athens, Greece. They were named after members of Hellenic-American. The grammar school that I attended for 6 years, it was called Marasliou School. And it was named after Grigorios Maraslis, who was the mayor of Odessa. And he was the mayor of Odessa for 20 years. And the home of Maraslis was where the members of Hellenic-American would meet to have their secret meetings. His home now is a museum, and I hope it wasn't being bombed by the Russians the last 3 days, because I hear they've been bombing Odessa. Also, the street that I was born and lived for 19 years in Athens, it was named after Georgios Sissini. And Sissini was a member of Hellenic-American. He was a wealthy merchant from Gastouni, which is a little bit north of Olympia in Peloponneso. And he provided Kolokotroni and his fighters with the weapons, the ammunition, the horses, the food, the money they needed to sustain the war for 7 years. Now I know that Presbytera Efi has been to Gastouni because Father Elia and the Stephanopoulos family came from a town which is called Neochori, which was practically next to Gastouni. And you notice I'm referring to the ones who occupied Greece not as Turks, but as Ottomans. The reason for this is that there were not only Turks that occupied Greece for 400 years. There were 15,000 Egyptians who went to Peloponneso under the leadership of Ibrahim Pasha, and they went there to quash the uprising there. There were also thousands of Albanians who moved south to central Greece to quash the uprising in Suli and Messaloniki. And the leader of the Ottoman Empire in central Greece, Ali Pasha, he was not a Turk, he was from Albania. But I wanted today to speak about the unsung heroes of 1821, the women heroines who were ignored by the historians, and they were not promoted like the men. I'm talking about Admiral Bouboulina, Laskarina Bouboulina. She was born in Constantinople from Greek parents. She built 3 ships with her own money, And one of it, the Agamemnon, which was the biggest one, had 18 cannons, 140 sailors, and Bouboulina was the captain of the ship. Bouboulina participated in many battles, and she participated with her ships to liberate Nafplio, which became the first capital of Greece. The Tsar of Russia, after she died, gave her the title of Admiral of the Russian Navy. I'm talking about Mandou Mavrogenos. Mandou was born in Trieste, Italy, from Greek parents. She used her money to build 6 ships with 800 sailors, and they liberated some of the islands in the Aegean Sea. Her marble statue sits in the main square in the island of Mykonos, and another statue of her sits in the main square in the island of Paros. The first governor of Greece, Kapodistrias, gave her the title of general. I'm talking about Major Despota Vella from Suli, who led her own 300 women army that fought the Ottomans in many battles. I'm talking about Konstantina Zacharia from Mani. At the age of 21, she joined the fight for liberation. She led her own battalion of 500 men and women fighters to many battles in Peloponneso. Konstantina made her own Greek flag, white with a big blue cross on it, and she raised it in all the towns and churches that were liberated in Moria. They called Peloponneso Moria back then. And if you haven't seen it, you're curious what it looks like. If you look at the paintings that are outside the door, there are several flags of the ones that Konstantina made. Okay, but these are only 4 of the heroines that I mentioned today. There were certainly a lot more. A book named 17 Heroines of 1821 was displayed at the War Museum in Athens exactly 1 year ago as part of the festivities for the March 25th. The book was written by Effi Spiliotti, and she describes the lives of 17 heroines and the contribution that they made to liberate Greece. My sister Sonia went to the museum last year. She met Effi Spiliotti, and she bought 2 books, 2 of her books, one for me and one for this is the book, one for me and one for our Hacker Museum, which you can find upstairs. And I urge all of you to spend 5 minutes to go upstairs and read some of these, or 1 or 2 of these inspiring stories about these heroines. The youngest of the heroines is the 7-year-old girl from the island of Psara. Today we honor and celebrate all those men and women who led the way to liberate Greece from almost 400 years of Ottoman occupation. And remember, Φιλική Εταιρεία was called a terrorist organization. The men and women who fought them, they were called terrorists. Just like George Washington, just like Nelson Mandela, just like General Grivas in Cyprus in the 1950s, who were also called terrorists by the occupiers of their country. But for us, those were and still are the heroes who liberated Greece. And 200 years later, we still celebrate, we still call their names so that the younger generations can learn and remember the names of those who liberated Greece. So, Zito Yelas, and thank you.